Freund, all my friends that are out there. You have hopefully just seen the last event of our inaugural international virtual Why I Love Yiddish Fest 2020. And I have to admit that I have cried a lot. I have been in tears rolling down my face. And I've also laughed a lot. And isn't that what theater and art is all about? It's about the laughter and the tears, the famous thespians, laughter and tears. And that's what the Jewish people are all about. Laughter, we've always been able to laugh at ourselves and at everybody else. And we've also had to cry a lot for what has happened to us throughout history. And so I hope that what you take away from our first festival, virtual festival, is this idea that the Jewish experience is the human experience, that the Jewish experience is a universal experience, and that what we have experienced for 5,000 years is something that the whole world has not only benefited from, but can also learn from. We have suffered a lot over thousands of years, in the hope that those lessons of suffering will be learned so that we don't have to suffer today. And so, unfortunately, I feel that we have to look at the world realistically. And one of the lessons that I think I would like to take away from this festival are really the words of Norman Lear in the last song. You know, the idea that all of his programs were controversial, or many of his programs were controversial and groundbreaking, because they were willing to take on the stereotypes. He was willing to take on the hatred and the intolerance in shows like All in the Family and the Jeffersons. He was willing to take a look at the reality of America and the world and deal with it in a very funny and wonderful way. And so, you know, as we look at the world today, we are at a crossroads. We are a world and a country here in the United States in crisis. We are dealing with issues that I certainly never believed we would have to deal with in my lifetime. You know, the questions of human rights and equal rights and civil rights, things that many of us started to take for granted were a given at this point. And so, you know, now we look at the country and the world we live in, and we see a pandemic raging around the globe, where some countries have been able to control it effectively and are now really beginning to allow themselves to reopen to the world. And we also see countries where the governments and the leadership have not been able to control it effectively. And unfortunately, here in the United States, I feel that we are living in a country that is unwilling to accept science. I mean, really, science? Are we going back to the dark ages where people believed that the sun revolved around the moon and the earth was flat and science is wrong and people are dying? 190,000 as of today, and more and more and more. And all you have to do is wear a mask and socially distance and wash your hands and take it seriously to protect those among us who are weak, who are older, who have compromised immune systems. Really, is that the America and the world we want to live in? You know, our economy. I mean, in our industry here in the arts, most of us have been devastated by this particular pandemic. Our economy, I'm not even talking about the rest of the economy. So many of my friends who participated in this festival, and myself included, lost so much work when the pandemic hit and we had to cancel all of our performances. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to pay our bills, our rent, our mortgages? How are people in America today supposed to buy food if there are 45 million unemployed because of this pandemic? And that's America. Food lines in America? Really? Nazis are marching in America. White supremacists are reigning. QAnon is suddenly electing representatives for Congress, and now they're pushing the protocols of the elders of Zion. We're going back to the 1800s and the blood libel against the Jews. Anti-Semitic incidents are rising insanely all over the world, and in this country, Pittsburgh, do I need to really mention every single one of the disasters that we are dealing with? Black Lives Matter is now the rallying cry for protests, peaceful protests around the country and around the world. Do we really need to go back to those times? And I know I'm digressing from Yiddishkeit and Jewish culture, but it's all related. Last night's concert with Frank London and Eleanor Risa, which may have been one of the most brilliant concerts I have ever seen, opened with a song called Es brennt, Bridarlach, Es brennt. It's burning, my brothers. It's burning. The west coast of the United States of America is burning. And we are pretending that climate change is not real? How could that be in America? My America is not that. My parents and my grandparents, those who survived Hitler's Germany and the concentration camp, my father, who came to America after surviving Auschwitz and weighing 65 pounds, my mother, who survived, born in a slave labor camp in Siberia, comes to America after the war, living in a refugee camp for 4 years. They came to America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, to make a better life for their family, for their children. And this is our America now? This is unacceptable. This is simply unacceptable. And so, without becoming overtly political, perhaps, I encourage every one of you who is still watching me now and who may watch me in the future to think about what you want from the world. How do you make your world a better place? Obviously, in a political arena, we here in America have a vote. So go out and vote. And vote for whoever you want. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You can figure it out for yourself. But vote because it's important. Vote because it matters. Vote because your voice matters as much as every single life matters, not just in America, but all over the world. And we are losing lives. We're losing lives to climate change. We're losing lives to the fires. We're losing lives with Black Lives Matter. We're losing lives with anti-Semitism. We're losing lives from hunger. And we're losing lives in a pandemic. So if this festival has given you anything, let it give you what matters to me the most. And that is that we all act like a mensch. Just be a mensch. When I was growing up, Yiddishkeit, Jewishness, the essence of Jewishness, was about protecting those around you, protecting your parents and your grandparents, protecting the workers who needed to get a fair deal, equal rights, civil rights, human rights, Menschlichkeit. Just be a mensch. Do the right thing for yourself and for those around you, and make your world a better place. And that's what I have tried to do in my own way with this festival. I've cried a lot, and I have laughed a lot, and I have loved a lot. And so I'm going to have to take a couple of minutes to thank those who I love and who I am so grateful for, who made it possible for me and those around me who helped me to bring you this amazing 7-day, 44 event festival with over 189 participants and watched by, at this point, probably 40 or more thousand people all over the world, countries that you never would have imagined. So first of all, I have to thank my mother, Professor Miriam Hoffman, here at Casa Yiddishkeit. She couldn't really participate in the festival personally for many reasons, although she has been on video and we got her on tape. But my mother gave me all this. This is what I got from my parents and my father, Olav Shalom, who's no longer with us since 2001, I feel has been sitting on my shoulder this entire time, whispering in my ear. My mother has taught me so much about the importance of learning, creating, and engaging, which is what the Yiddishkeit initiative is all about. Create, learn, and engage. And those three foundations are what keeps this organization moving forward. My mother when I was a child, she sang songs with me. And those songs have stayed with me to this day. And those songs and plays and shows that we did together over all the years are what I wanted to bring to you. Her books, her work, her essence, her neshama, the Yiddish neshama, a Jewish soul, which is a human soul. And so I have to thank her more than anything else, because she and I had a concept about 3.5, 4 years ago to create an organization whose purpose was to save and bring back all those lost treasures, to create works that would survive beyond what was lost, to bring back what was lost, to find what was now, to create new things for the future, to create academic programs, educational programs like our conversational Yiddish course, Yiddish Fun 01 and Yiddish Fun 02, to encourage others to create, to find the art, to find the music, to find the theater, to find the film, and create television and books and wonderful academic materials, archives and research, not just for us, but for the whole world, because we have to learn from the past. So I thank my mother, Miriam Hoffman, for everything she's given me. I have to thank Andy Rose and his organization, Kvel Communications. I mean, as soon as I met him and he told me the name of the company, I said, okay, yeah, let's work together, because we have to, because I'm Kvelling and I hope you're Kvelling too. Andy Rose came into my life at a time when I needed to take this concept of an organization and put it into some kind of a workable, realistic marketed and promoted organization. And so his help in marketing as the director of marketing of the Yiddishkeit Initiative, and his whole team. And he has an amazing team, starting with Mimi and Amanda and Randall and Gina and Angel and Brooke and Jay, and all the amazing people that have helped us put together our materials, our websites, and get it out to you. We couldn't have done it without Andy Rose, so thank you. Amy London, who has been the general manager and stage manager of this particular festival, but Amy and I go back a long, long time. She has worked with me ever since the first time we tried the concept of a Jewish organization. It was called the National Center for Jewish Cultural Arts. And in the last recession, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we were forced to stop our operations because of the economic situation. But ever since then, Amy and I have known each other, loved each other, been there for each other. And I adored her husband, Bruce Adler, Oliver Sholem, who I knew way before I knew Amy. And we had worked together in theater doing Yiddish theater, and he was an icon in the Yiddish theater. And may he rest in peace. And Amy London came in and saved us when we needed to be saved by making this festival come together managerially. She was out with every single participant, making sure that everybody knew how to get in, when, into the Zoom, out of the Zoom, every event, every communication, everything went through Amy. And without her, this never would have happened. So Amy, I love you very, very much. And I couldn't thank you more from the bottom of my heart. A young man named Gabe Scheinert. All right, so Gabe graduated from the University of Miami just last year. He's a young man, and now he just got accepted to Columbia University studying theater production. He came in to help me about a year ago as my executive assistant, and then became the general manager. And again, over the last year or so, Gabe has helped create the festivals that have brought us to being able to do this festival. Whether it was his work on the first festival in Miami Beach, and then the festival we did in New York in December, which I thought was unbelievable and couldn't have gone better. 13 events, 9 days, 3 venues. Without him, we never could have pulled it off. And we ended up living in a 2-bedroom apartment, Airbnb, where he slept on the sofa. So for sleeping on the sofa and for making it all happen and staying up at 4 o'clock in the morning, putting the finishing touches on the next day's events, Gabe, I love you very much, and I'm very grateful, and I couldn't have done it without you. I look forward to not only seeing how you become one of the greatest producers on Broadway, but I hope that you and I will continue doing a lot together over the next several years. I have to thank our pro bono attorney, Stephen Eisenberg, because he has guided me from a legal perspective throughout everything over the last couple of years. And we are now dealing with several struggles that I don't want to talk about, but you may hear about it in the very near future. Kind of a clue. Apparently the word Yiddish, according to some very, very large corporations and organizations, has been deemed derogatory and dangerous. I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but I think their algorithms have led them to believe that the word Yiddish is bad, and that is unacceptable. And you may have gotten enough from what I've said to know exactly where we're going with this, but we will fight the good fight, because that's what we do. So Steve, thank you. I have to thank our board of directors. First and foremost, Joan Lyman. Joan was the brilliant mind who came to me a while ago, and we were introduced again because we knew each other in New York many years ago when she was working with a Mosque Musical Theater. But Joan brought my mother in to read her book in her home for several people. We had like a little book reading. And ever since then, I conned her into becoming a part of the Yiddishkeit initiative and Why I Love Jewish. And she came up with the concept of this liberation commemoration, which honored the Holocaust survivors and celebrated the liberators of the concentration camps, and really brought it into today by honoring those frontline workers who are fighting the war of today, which is COVID-19 and the pandemic. She helped us with the grants. She helped us put it all together, and she actually produced and worked on the entire opening ceremony, which you can still watch on our Facebook and YouTube. By the way, all of our programs, except for a few that had to come down because of licensing, are available to you to watch for free, at least for the next several days and hopefully beyond. But Joan was the one who came up with the concept of a liberation commemoration event. And because of her, we were able to not only get the funding from Miami-Dade County, but get Governor Jeb Bush and Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Congressman Ted Deutsch and the mayor of Miami-Dade County, proclaiming Labor Day, our opening day of the festival, as Liberation Commemoration Day in honor of the work of the Yiddishkeit Initiative. I'm starting to tear up because I can't believe any of this is happening. This is all a fantasy. So Joan, thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you have been able to accomplish with us. And I know how difficult it was for you on a personal level. And I hope that you'll be able to continue helping us from your seat, your honored seat on the board of directors of the Yiddishkeit Initiative. Other board members, of course, include our dear friend Rena Berkowitz-Burrow and Rabbi Bruce Warshall, and my dear sister and brother Susan Papp and Richard Lippman, Dr. Marka Gronin, Steve Eisenberg. So much work goes into creating what we have done, and you have gotten it all for free. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, I hope you'll support our work. I have to thank our main sponsors, the Betsy Hotel. At the last minute when we were struggling to figure out how we were going to pull this all together, the Betsy Hotel contacted me. Deborah, thank you. Jonathan, thank you. And they became our festival sponsor, and they really made it possible. And so they are not only lovers of Yiddish and Yiddishkeit, but they are such good and honorable and decent human beings. And their hotel is one of the most successful hotels in the world, but not because it's gaudy, it's because it's all about the arts. It's all about the human experience. It's about literature and poetry and music. And they've dedicated their hotel to the memory of their father, the great Jewish American poet, Chaim Plotzik. And I look forward to many years ahead of working very closely with the Betsy and with the Betsy Hotel. And I can already imagine the great things that we will do together, not only for ourselves, but also for the world. The University of Miami, the Sue and Leonard Miller Center for Contemporary Judaic Studies, and the George Feldenkrais Program for Contemporary Judaic Studies. A few years ago, I had known Chaim Shaked, Dr. Shaked, at the University of Miami for several years because he used to sponsor all the Jewish shows at Gable Stage, where our dear departed friend Joe Adler, Olav Sholem, produced so many shows and honored me by hiring me to play roles that I never would have had the chance to play if I had stayed in New York. But here in Florida, I was able to work with him on many, many shows, and all the Jewish shows that we did, including Address Unknown, which we did a few nights ago, and The Quarrel, and My Name is Asher Lev, and more. A Bad Friend. Chaim, Dr. Shaked was, and the University of Miami programs that he runs were the sponsors for those programs. So he and I met a long time ago, but when I came up with the Yiddishkeit initiative, when my mom and I came up with this concept, I went to him and he said, absolutely, count me in, and has been there for us for the past 2.5, maybe 3 years. Whenever we needed the help, whenever we needed the support, he was always there, and he continues to be there every day. And we are now working on some insane archival and research academic projects. One of the things you don't even know about yet is this incredible archive that my mother and father collected over the years, some incredibly unique and very, very important artifacts from World War I and World War II, and all the curricula and research that my mother has done is all ready to be utilized and turned into academic material. And the University of Miami is our primary academic partner. And so I thank them beyond belief. The Forward newspaper, the Vorwärts, which was a Yiddish newspaper in New York from the turn of the century and the most important newspaper in New York, maybe at the time. To this day, my mother was a journalist for the Forward for 35 years, writing a weekly column. She was like the Dave Barry or Art Buchwald of Yiddish. And her articles will live on forever. And we're actually working on a book now of her articles from Yiddish translated into English. And if I can get all of them translated, there will be about 25 volumes at least. The Forward newspaper has been supportive of our work, and I'm very grateful. The JBS, Rabbi Mark Golub of the Jewish Broadcasting Service. I adore that man. He's maybe the greatest interviewer I have ever had the honor of being interviewed by many times. You can go to jbstv.org and see the interviews that my mother and I have done with Rabbi Golub. Rabbi Golub was there for me when I needed to videotape different events. And our world premiere of Still Jewish After All These Years was videotaped by his crew, and he has graciously given me all of that to utilize in any way, shape, or form that we can. And he has and will continue to broadcast all our work. And hopefully from there, we will be able to get to a much wider and international mainstream audience through some of the more well-known broadcasting services. But go to jbstv.org, subscribe, join up, contribute, support his work, because his broadcasts are the essence. His work on that network, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, which is available on many cable systems, Comcast and others, support them, because it is the essence of Yiddishkeit. He is the essence of Yiddishkeit. He is so human and such a mensch. And his work is so important to the Jewish people. And so please support his work. The Miami Jewish Film Festival for sponsoring some of our work last festival, the festival in Miami, and this festival, and I look forward to many festivals with the Miami Jewish Film Festival, work that we can do together. Igor Sternberg, maybe we could do a Yiddish Film Festival, huh? So let's talk. The Chenstochover Society and Relief Agency. Out of the blue, I got a call from Leah Wolonitz at the Chenstochover Society and Relief Agency, and she offered financial and moral support and has promised that there will be much more to come. Chenstochov, of course, was one of the most important centers of Yiddishkeit and the Jewish world of Europe before the Holocaust. And of course, it was decimated by the Holocaust. And all of their descendants of that city have gotten together to create a society and relief agency where they have raised money to support the efforts and the projects and the people who are most in need. And apparently they felt that I was in need and they came to my help without solicitation. So thank you so much. I want to give a quick shout out to Carol and Roy Fantel for the show you just saw, Stars of David. Carol and Roy have known me and my wife way before me. They, once again, when I've known them for years, I've worked with Carol and Roy for years. Carol is one of the most important music directors that I know, not just in Florida, but in New York and all over the United States of America. She's worked with some of the most important artists of our time. And when I desperately needed someone to help put together our Stars of David concert, because I was so busy with everything else, I turned to Carol, who had music directed our production, our little tour here in Florida a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I've lost track of time. I went to Carol and I said, Carol, can you please, please, please help us put this together? And it had to all be pre-taped, which is really, really difficult because you have a little earbud and you're listening to a track that Carol is playing and it's really faint and you're trying to sing out loud to the track that you're hearing in your ear. And I cannot believe how magnificent it turned out. And Roy, who is a drummer, but also a IT genius, was able to take all the videotapes and all the tracks and edit that program. And it brought tears to my eyes, both musically, Carol, and video-wise, Roy. And so I love you guys a lot. And we've known each other through the ups and the downs, the goods and the bads. And what you did was beyond extraordinary and could not have been a more appropriate ending for this inaugural international virtual Why I Love Yiddish Fest 2020. I want to just finish by saying and sending my love and appreciation to the dozens and dozens and dozens of performers, great artists, musicians, lecturers, filmmakers, band members, just every single person who participated in this festival has brought their soul into the work. And it's so difficult. Those of you watching me right now, you have no idea how difficult it is to sit in front of a computer with no, we actors, we usually have an audience to feed back from. And I can only imagine you sitting out there and responding. But it's so difficult to just sit in front of a computer screen and give your soul, to open your heart and give your soul to people you can't see, you don't know, who may or may not be there. And so I just want to send all of my heartfelt thanks and gratitude. And I'm kind of a little speechless to all of you who made this festival such an extraordinary success. I know I shouldn't have gone on this long, but once I get on a roll, it's kind of hard to stop me. And as I said to Amy London before we started, you know what? This is my festival. I get to do whatever I want. And so I'm going to talk from my heart and just tell you how much I love you all. And please, tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. It's not just a concept. And there are those out there who are probably not watching right now, but I do know some who are Jewish who think it is shameful that some of us still believe in tikkun olam, and that somehow that concept is outdated and stupid and shouldn't be followed anymore because it only leads us to, all too liberal thoughts and concepts. But you know what? I believe in tikkun olam. I believe in making the world a better place. I believe in liberal concepts that making the world better for your fellow human being, understanding how much lives matter, Black, Jewish, white, all the colors of the rainbow, all the human rights and civil rights and equal rights that I grew up believing are the most important. So Yiddishkeit and the Yiddishkeit initiative is really about Menschlichkeit, being a mensch. Just hashtag be a mensch. Be a person that treats others the way you want to be treated. Isn't that the golden rule? Do unto others. It's so simple. And you can do it. And you can make your world a better place, just like I'm trying to make my world a better place. And so you can do whatever you can for your own little existence, and you can do whatever you can for the existence that is around you in the street, in the store. Volunteer at an old age home. Go work the polls. I am, because they need help. We have to protect each other in these very, very difficult times. There is a pandemic. In spite of what we were told, it is not a hoax. People are getting sick. I know people who have died. I see what's happening in America. I see what's happening in the world. My eyes are open, and I am a realist about what is happening. And I also know that this is not the first time, and it hopefully will be the last time that we have to deal with things that are so, so terrible, because we will learn and make it better. A lot of people have asked me in the past, I teach Holocaust education and awareness on many different projects. And people say, how could it be that Germany, the greatest country in the world at that time, the most cultured civilization in the world at that time, could in such a short amount of time become the most inhuman culture of murder and death, automated, a factory, mechanized and industrialized death, which I hope will never happen again to that extent, although we know that in North Korea today, there are concentration camps. We know that in Syria today, there are crematorium. In Russia today, there are gulags and Uyghurs who are being sent to camps. In the United States, there are children who were separated from their families and people kept in, people tell me not to call it concentration camps, but I'm not sure what else to call them. They are concentrated and they're not free because they wanted to come to America, the land of freedom. So the question is, how did it happen in Germany? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it happens. You are watching it happen in real time. So I'm going to leave you with the idea that what you have to do if you want a better world for yourself and for your children and your grandchildren and those you love is to take responsibility for your life and for your surroundings and make the world a better place. Go out and do what you can, whatever that is. Write a play about it. Make a movie, go volunteer, donate your money. But whatever you do, go and vote. Vote because your life may depend on it. I love you all. I'm very grateful that this festival has been so extraordinarily well received. 44 events over 7 days, 189 participants, and at this point, over 36,000 views in 7 days. The programs will be available. You know where to find us. You know how to, go to our website, yilovejewish.org, and support what we do. And I look forward to the next time that I see you all. I love you. Thank you.